So Business Insider recently made a video showing the reality of what new cadets at the Virginia Military Institute go through. The new cadets are referred to as rats. And as I watched the video, I was able to reflect back on my own experience, because it's been more than a decade for me. And it brought back some good memories, but also some times where I was like, how will I ever get through this? And as I started to read the comments that were left on that video, there were a lot from people who were never a part of the VMI community passing judgment. One of the comments that stuck out to me was, "These kids pay to get hazed," or "I would laugh so hard if I had to go through this." And I thought about it. Instead of writing a comment back, I wanted to make this video. You choose VMI because you don't want to follow the same path as others, especially if you go to a high school and you realize there's got to be more to life than doing XYZ. You choose VMI because you enjoy walking on the path of most resistance. You like the idea of being comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's a cliche saying, but I never knew what that meant until I went to VMI, where I learned to get past my comfort zone. And the best part of it all is you get to be surrounded by the same type of folks who will help push you. Because everybody at VMI is also looking for a challenge, looking to do what is hard in the early years so that life can be easy in the later years. Nobody opens up an application for VMI as a high school senior or as a college transfer thinking, oh, it's gonna be so much fun, it's gonna be so easy. The type of people who have the courage, strength, and bravery to even consider VMI is a special type of human, a different type of mindset. So you see, you choose VMI to be in a community of people fighting to be better. They're not people looking to slack off, looking to be average, looking to be overweight, looking to take shortcuts. Instead, it's filled with people who seek out difficulty. And that type of people that I described, it's an atmosphere that you cannot and will not find in other college campuses. And it's a virtue that will help you level up and upgrade to becoming a better human. Because at VMI, there are no shortcuts. There's no cheating, there's no lying, and there's no stealing. At VMI, there's only hard work, resilience, and teamwork. You will depend on your brother rat to the left and right of you. You cannot do it alone. So, will going to VMI make you a better XYZ fill in the blank? I don't want to sound pretentious and be all like, well, here at Harvard. So instead, let's take a listen to this. Don't take my words for it. This is United States Marine Corps General Mattis.
Gentlemen, welcome to this morning's special presentation by our country's sitting Secretary of Defense, the Honorable James N. Mattis. VMI is honored to welcome Secretary Mattis. He is the third Secretary of Defense to speak to the Corps in this century. As you know, VMI educates and prepares officers through 4 years of a cadetship for service in one of the branches of the U.S. Armed Forces, and most recently the U.S. Coast Guard. This distinguishes VMI from the splendid federal service academies that prepare officers principally for commissioning in their specific service branch. The nature of service today and fighting jointly must be one of trust, respect, service, joint competency and cooperation between the services. I believe you are introduced to these basic joint requirements early on in your pre-commissioning education by principally living together in such close quarters and being a member of a class that has been tested in a very unique education. You are also distinguished from so many others as being citizen soldiers, ready in time of peace or in time of war, to be of service to your country in time of deepest peril. Today's speaker, he is widely known as a Marine's Marine. He is highly respected for his loyalty, toughness, straightforwardness, and for always speaking the truth. During his more than 4 decades in uniform, Secretary Mattis commanded Marines at all levels, from an infantry rifle platoon to a Marine expeditionary force, and often in combat, and we are honored to welcome him to the Institute. Please give a warm welcome to our nation's 26th Secretary of Defense, the Honorable James N. Mattis.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, all of you, and we'll see if you clap that loud when I get done, I might add. We'll see if I pass the grade here. But General P., former commander of mine, thanks for the very kind introduction. I would just tell you, I still remember the 101st over there, well to the left of the Marines, and there was nothing that could stop that unit as they closed in on MSR Newmarket. I think I know where that name came from when we saw it on the tactical maps. But I would also tell you that your fighting instinct permeated all the way down to me years later as the regimental commander out in the Mojave when you came out and reviewed the attack we made there. I would just say that with VMI blood running through your veins, it's great that you followed your father's footsteps as a cadet here and then have returned once again. It builds a lot of my confidence as I think about what's facing our country today, to know that someone, what we call in the Naval Service, a shipmate, is here guiding this school today. One of the reasons I wanted to come here is I owe you a debt. I owe this school a debt because many, many times I have had graduates of this school serve around me, above me, under me, and there is a debt that our country owes that goes back many, many decades, as you know, for a school that develops this sense of service before self, of putting others first. And that's really what you come out of here with, whether you're going to serve in the military or you're going to serve your communities, corporations, whatever, but be a good corporate citizen. There's an ethos that comes from living the way you're living by the code you're living by today. And it's good once in a while for someone who has no affiliation with the school to come by and recognize it, because I also know this is not an easy road that you've chosen. I've grown very remote from you young folks today who matter, who carry so much of our hopes on your young shoulders, and I want to close that gap today to the degree I can. And since the Civil War, every generation of America has turned to your graduates to help keep alive what I call our experiment in democracy, and that's all it is. It's one great big experiment that's testing to see if a government of the people, by the people, and for the people can long survive in a world that is not helpful on many occasions. You're going to be expected to carry on that legacy. There's many, many ways to do so. You get old like me and you like learning stuff, you know. It's like it's not a pain in the neck like it is in some of the classrooms, you know. You really want to learn stuff. And I was out in the middle of nowhere a few years ago, again with my little team there rolling down the road, and it was probably somewhere around 40 to 50 kilometers from the nearest next outpost. And we pulled in during the night because we had trouble getting there, got inside this lieutenant's perimeter with about 40 guys out there, sailors and Marines. And when the sun came up, he came over to see me, check in, and he said, by the way, General, last night we caught a guy trying to lay an IED on the road you were driving in on. I said, well, that's kind of nice, you know, a little personal, you know what I mean? wanted to blow me up. He said, yeah, he said, an engineer, and he speaks perfect English. Do you want to talk with him? I said, sure, bring him over. So they brought him over to see me, and he was shaking like a leaf. It was not his best night, you know what I mean? He'd been out there with his wheelbarrow, he had his 2 artillery rounds, had his car battery, he's got his shovel, he's digging a hole, and he looks up and there's 5 people with automatic weapons dressed in camouflage. And he realized immediately his retirement plan was in jeopardy at that point. And so he's shaking badly, he wants a cigarette. I decided not to give him my anti-smoking lecture for a change. He looked like he needed it. So I had to light it for him. We cut his handcuffs off, little plastic cuffs the Marines put on him. And I said, what are you doing this for? You know, what's wrong with you? You know, you're a Sunni, we're the Marines, we're the only friends you've got out here. And he started, you know, going off, oh, you Jews, you Americans, you want to steal our oil, all this stuff. And I said, okay. I said, you're obviously an educated man. I'm not going to waste my time listening to this dribble. And he sat there for a minute, and the Marine Guard moved in to take him away, and he sat there, he's just sitting there on the ground with me. And he said, can I sit here a minute? I said, sure. And after a minute, he seemed to be a little calmer. We got him a cup of coffee. He's spilling it. He's still nervous. And I said, you know, what's up? I mean, what do you do? Where's your family at? You know, they lived about 10 kilometers away, had a wife, 2 daughters. And after we're talking for a little bit, he said, you know, I can't stand having foreign soldiers here. I respect that. I wouldn't want foreign soldiers in this town. You know what I mean? I mean, that's where you can connect with somebody. And I said, well, I understand, but, you know, you shouldn't have done that. He said, I guess I'm going to jail. I said, oh, yeah, you're going to be wearing an orange jumpsuit in Abu Ghraib for a good many years for this little stunt. And you're lucky you're not dead for, you know, and he said, yeah. He says, but now I want you all, especially you young people, to listen to me here. He said, General, do you think if I'm a model prisoner, you know what's coming, don't you? Could I someday immigrate to America? Think about that. Think about that the hatred he felt was so much that he would go out and try to put a bomb on the road to kill us. But the example of America was so strong that if he could be sitting where you are today or have his son and daughter in that audience, he'd have given his eye teeth. It wasn't just because we'd caught him right then. This was deeper. And I was reminded that America's got 2 fundamental powers. There's the power of intimidation in the military. The U.S. military exists to warn people, you take on America and free men and women are going to fight like the Dickens. Power of intimidation. But there's also the power of inspiration, and the power of inspiration can reach halfway around the world to the Euphrates River Valley and affect someone, no matter how blinded they were at that moment by a hatred. I want you all to remember that, because when you're out there, you're also going to be part of the power of inspiration, and you surrender that high ground, that ethical high ground, that moral high ground, the historic legacy that we carry with us at our nation's peril. So you hold that close, you take care of each other, and thanks very much for having me here today.